welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Podcast live this week. Just a quick disclaimer, Holly wasn't able to make it this week, so it's just us three, unless Kay, you want to jump in? I've sent you an invite. Check your chat. Welcome back, guys. Donte, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How's things? How's life? What's going on?
My week's been great, as you can tell. I've had a great week, as you can tell. If you know anything about what's happened over here in America about champions,
I was about to say, how can we tell?
I'm having a great week. But no, man. The week's been actually pretty good, man. I mean, like my squad sealed the deal finally. I've been having a blast with gaming between Call of Duty. I'm still playing through that campaign. I'm still enjoying my Starfield No Life, and I just started Dragon Age, and I'm enjoying that. I started a little bit of that last night through the first portion of the first epilogue of the game. So it's like it's a good time, man. I'm actually at this point where I'm trying to figure out like how to balance, because I'm like, okay, how many hours do I give this, right? Because I want to eventually make sure I go back and fully complete the COD campaign, playing a lot of zombies with the homies and stuff like that. So I got to balance that between the three different games that I'm currently in, and then it's like there's more stuff with indie coming right around the corner. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, there is a lot to play, and I'm not sure if I'm going to play this game or not yet. But we'll get into that. Umbra, how's your week been? What have you been up to? We've had a good fix this week. Good nuanced discussion. My name is spelt perfectly, by the way.
Salutations. Man, no.
Salutations.
There you go. No, it was a good show, man. I still have to do the timestamps. Shout out to Red Wolf, who came in there and was like, the Dragon Age discussion starts an hour and whatever here in my chat. Comments. I'm like, all right, appreciate that. Yeah, I got to get to that. Sorry for the delay on that, everybody, but hey, I'm gaming, man. I'm gaming. It's tough to try to balance all these things, and like Donte was pointing out, I mean, I just went from Starfield, playing that expansion and beating that, to Metaphor Refantasio, and I have close to 160 hours in that. I already beat it, and I'm on New Game Plus now, so like, love that. It's my current game of the year. And now I'm starting up with Dragon Age, as a few of my buddies we've talked about. We call it what is it called? Dragon Age, the Woke Guard. It is actually really good so far, man. I have to say, beautiful game. I have everything set to Ultra on my yes. Sprinkle. Yeah. Wait, what? Gray? What are you talking about? Who's Gray wrote? Where did you get that from? Well, gay is if you mean by happy. Yeah, I guess. I'm very happy right now. Look, he booed me because of the PC talk. But listen, I have to tell you, I'm sorry to say it. Not sorry, but man, this 4080 Super is pushing out these ultra graphics with ultra ray tracing on this game. Now, you know me, I'm going to praise my Unreal Engine. But I have to give them credit for this Frostbite engine. They did their thing with this. They really did. Yes. I always feel like I need to start. Oh, my love. Every time it starts up, it sounds like that. But yeah, good show. Happy to be here with you fellas tonight. Yeah, if anybody, Chaos Auntie, want to jump in with us, Red Wolf, anybody, we would appreciate it. I don't know why I'm coughing like that, but yeah, if anybody is free to jump in. But other than that,
yeah, I think Kay's gonna jump in.
Okay.
So he's just checking with the boss to make sure the boss is going to be cool with him giving up his time, which we appreciate.
Oh, okay.
I will try to respect.
I'll also, of course, just to throw it out there, gave away 2 copies of the Dragon Age, the Veilguard yesterday. Credit to Felix off of Twitter. It's on my timeline. You'll see her on there. So shout out to her. Appreciate her. She upped it because she saw so much interest and so many people entering. She's like, you know what? I'm going to give away another copy just because so many people entered. And I'm like, wow, like that's love. Like that's the type of stuff I like to see in our community. That's the stuff that brings me to love this community the way I love it. You know what I mean? And so we have to have more of that. So in keeping in that spirit, you know, me and Risk talked about it, and we're going to give away another copy of Dragon Age tonight. So stay tuned, everybody. I might do the wheel. You think we should do the wheel spin for that, Risk? That'll be the easiest way.
I've got a scene added with if you hashtag Dragon Age in the chat.
Okay.
So everyone, if you type hashtag Dragon Age with dragon with a capital letter, age with a capital letter, it will flick through the chat and just pick someone out at random. So absolutely hashtag Dragon Age. I'll do that like about mid-show, maybe after the Dragon Age conversation, which maybe no one will want to hear from me, but that's what we're doing.
Now that you say that, let me make a tweet because I did mention that I'll probably do a wheel spin. I'm going to post that so the people who did enter before can jump in and right now, and that way they can all try to, you know.
What up, Kay?
Kay,
thank you for jumping in, brother, man. Greatly appreciate it, fam.
Good evening. How y'all doing? Don't appreciate me. Appreciate Mrs. Asante on the other side who's watching her shows and like
Shout out to Mrs. Asante.
Shout out to Mrs. Asante.
Thank you for letting him use some of his
to
time. We appreciate you.
Can I go out and play? Yeah, get out of here.
She's like, all right.
The boys are asking me.
Give me my red wine and get out of here.
Can I come outside?
What's that scene with
people? Go ahead.
What's that scene with Tom Hanks where like he's standing on the balcony and like they're asking him to like his a grown ass man and there's two of them down the bottom and they got that whole like, you know, that whole like, can he come out? What is that movie, man?
Big.
That's exactly what that reminds me.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, it's big. One of my favorites. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to do this, but I did hear somebody with a premature pinky in the air about his 40-something. I had to come in here, correct the record. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry. How many frames is it again?
I have it on Ultra. So, I mean,
yes.
You know, 4080 Super produces a lot of frames per second. I just want to,
indeed, yes.
Indeed.
Where's that? Where's the music, Risk?
Well, I mean, I got Risk. We're already at like 4 times.
They're doing that PC dick measuring contest stuff.
He does have the 4090 to his credit. He does have the 4090. So he said it without saying it, but I understood where he was going with it. So yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about. When you get all the frames, it's not even about worth.
When you get all the frames,
I sometimes sit and stop and stare at myself.
I want the frames.
You know,
how many frames? All the frames.
All the frames.
Right.
All the frames. Look, how you been, Kay? What have you been up to? How's things? Are you playing Dragon Age? I am the only person on the Zip panel tonight that hasn't touched Dragon Age. Have you jumped in?
Fraud.
I will say I was gonna hold out, and I was successfully able to hold out with
I saw your tweet.
Metaphor.
FOMO got you. I saw your tweet.
Because there's just I cannot handle the 100+ hour game or whatever. But yeah, Dragon Age got me. How they were able to get me was I was not planning on buying another, like, you know, no life kind of game. But somebody was like, you know, that EA Play Pro, man, you get the deluxe edition. It's like $17 and you can try it out. And I'm just like, I did just cancel Star Wars, right? Outlaws after playing that. So I no longer have UB Plus. So I can shift my funds over to, you know, and that's how they got me. So I'm already in there. I'm like, what, 4 hours or so in. I got thoughts.
Okay.
Thoughts. Yeah, we'll get it.
Okay. So everyone take a deep breath here because Riskit's probably going to go on a bit of a rant.
Okay.
And you guys stop me if you, I know you will. Umbra said before the show, is like, what makes you think we ain't going to tell you if you're wrong?
He said, you guys feel free to tell me if you're wrong. I'm like,
we're like, we will. we will. That won't be a problem.
Have you not met us before?
Right.
So, Kat, I'm just going to flick over the topics so you're sort of across where we're at or what we're sort of talking about. But I've got some things and some stuff sort of happening. So my take on what's going on with Dragon Age comes from someone who hasn't played the game. So this is the impressions that I got based on what I've seen out there in the community. I watched SkillUp's review. I watched Mr. Mattty Play's review. I watched Fextra Life's review. I've seen some positive stuff on Twitter, and I've seen so there's two things. So first of all, this conversation always gets hijacked, and I hate that it gets hijacked. And the reason that I hate that it gets hijacked is it removes a lot of people from the conversation because they won't touch it. But I will. So and I just want to preface this by saying, you guys in the chat all know me, you guys on the panel all know me, so you guys know that I'm not coming from a bad place on this, but I do have some views that may line up with some of those people who do come from a bad place, but not in the way that they're doing it. Like, so first of all, let me address Grum's. Grum's bullshit with Mr. Mattty Plays. And I saw him drag in Colin Moriarty, which I find my views are aligning more and more with Colin Moriarty, which is really strange. Like, just in the past, I have vehemently disagreed with a lot of the things that he says. But one of the things that he said about Grums is he feels like Grifter gets thrown around a little bit too much, and I agree. I think it does. But in the true sense of the word, Grums is 100% a Grifter. He's pulling up an NDA that is clearly a bullshit NDA, doesn't even have a signature, has a cursor at the top.
Cursor at the top left.
Yeah, the damn thing is written in New Times Roman. If you've ever been sent an NDA, like, it doesn't come through a Word document that you don't have a signature at the bottom on. It'll come through DocuSign, or it'll come through some sort of signatory thing. And normally it has a letterhead with the game. Like, it just looks pretty. You know what I mean? It's like, here's the game letterhead. Here's the legal jargon details. Make sure you close your curtains. No one in the house can see it. All this sort of stuff. None of what that NDA said is fucking remotely like close to what you get in an NDA. I haven't had many, but I've seen enough to know that that is not an NDA. And he is an ex-game developer, and he knows better. And so for me, in the true sense of the word, he is stirring up hate and bullshit in the community. So I want to be clear, I'm not a part of that. Right. So, and because you guys have played the game, I'm just going to have my rant, and you guys can tell me how wrong I am at the end of it, right?
Oh, yeah. So I'm just going to turn on mute, and I'll tell you how wrong you are after.
Where's the pinky? So look, what I saw in some of the reviews with the character interactions, I really didn't like. I felt like they were very not Pixar-ish, and I don't mind the character models. I actually don't mind that. I think they're actually kind of all right. Like, it doesn't bother me that the art style has changed, but the art style seems to have changed with the tone of the game. This is a sequel to a series of games that is tonally dark. So that's a fair criticism. I think, like, you've got a tonally dark game. Now it's more of a teenage sitcom, and not in the best way. I'm sure there's someone said some teenage sitcoms are popular and people love them. And I'm sure that's true. And that is true. 100% true. That some people do, but I don't. From what I saw, the character interactions were just like, oh God. And the most cringiest, like, oh God, like, oh, the kiss scene. I was like, oh my God, this is the most cringy thing I think I've ever seen. My 15-year-old would love this. Who wrote this? Was it my daughter? So that was my sort of reaction to that. So I feel like the character interactions, the writing, and what I can't comment on is the story building, like the world building. I cannot comment on that because I have not seen the world. And that may be absolutely fantastic, and it may fit those character interactions into the world. So just, again, prefacing this by I haven't played it. And when I have, I will come back and say, hey, I was flat out wrong, or I was right, whichever one it is. Now, I just want to address, because this is, and I'm not sure why I get pissed about this, but I think it might have something to do with the fact that my son is a member of the LBGT community. I don't know. So I watched the infamous scene between the them-they apology scene. If you haven't seen it, it's all over Twitter, and it's being used by the nefarious trolls, and I would call them incels, that follow Grumps. I watched the scene. I think that just based on that scene, and I don't know what's around that scene also. So I don't know if they've done what I'm about to say, that I think they've done, and if they have, it's really disappointing. And I think that scene is super insulting. It's not insulting just to just your normal straight people or whatever they call them cis. It's not just insulting to them. I think it's insulting to the LGBTQ community. I'm sure there's other letters in there, and I apologize if I missed any. My son will rib me for that later on. But it's really insulting to them because if that's your politics, I have no problem with that. If that's what you want to put in your game, I have no problem with that. Like, absolutely do that. But don't do it in a way that you hit me with a sledgehammer and tell me what I should think or I should do or how I should act. What I want you to do is I want you to do that identity justice. And I really don't think that scene, because I'm not going to say the whole game, but I really don't think that scene does any justice at all. And I think it's flat out fucking insulting because that doesn't, like, you're literally just categorizing that identity that everyone thinks that like, because listen, I have had that interaction, like literally in life more than once, because the company that I work in is quite progressive, and we have a lot of trans people within the company, and occasionally you make a faux pas and you mess up, you misgender, and it does happen. And if a genuine apology, I think is fine, but that's not the point. What I feel like could have been done there is that if that's what you want to bring in, like, make that a character in the game, you know, and write them in with like an individual, like nuanced character, you know, like, you know, you can convey that idea over time without actually saying it. There's plenty of media, and I'll reference, because I was referencing it at the start of the show. So for instance, Raised by Wolves, fantastic show, gets better in season 2, by the way. So if you did drop off after season 1, jump back into season 2. It conveys a lot of ideas like religion, society polarization, you know, atrocities, AI. A lot of things are in that are political and relevant to today. Blue-Eyed Samurai, like, raises a lot of, and I shout out to Umbra for putting me on the anime thing, because I hated anime, and like, he recommended Blue-Eyed Samurai. I jumped in. I love that. Can't wait for the next season. And that conveys a lot of idea about race, you know, and revenge and hate and you know, friendship, and none of it is directly said. It is nuancedly written. It's such a great fucking series. If you haven't watched that, go and watch Blue-Eyed Samurai. None of it is directly. Some of it is directly, but like, it's not in a way that doesn't make you think about it and come to your own conclusion, and it doesn't hit you with a sledgehammer and tell you what you should do or what you should think. And I'm really fucking tired of poor writing from people who don't know how to convey their ideas in video games and other media, trying to browbeat me into thinking a certain way. I already think that way, like, right? So and someone said to me on Twitter, you know, your politics, it's because you don't like that specific set of politics, and that basically called me a bigot. And to them, I say, get fucked, because actually, I agree. I actually agree with what they're saying, that sometimes the sorry isn't enough, but that depends on that individual. And you can tell from that interaction that you're having with that individual that, hey, I really offended this person. And then I, as a person, have to make a decision here about how I'm going to approach, you know, or try to mend this fence, and what I'm going to do going forward to be a better person to that person, or have this person, if I want them to like me. And that's a very individual interaction that you have in the world. And it was just this generic fucking insulting, and I really didn't like it. And I don't like that. I don't want that. I want good writing with people who understand individualism, nuance, and the topic that they're writing about. That was the dumbest shit. And it seems like, and I'm not. Okay.
So let's assume assuming that if that is
cool,
a drop.
Someone stop me, thank God.
Okay, if that's a drop, okay, if they fumbled on that one in terms of their delivery, though, let's go outside of that, because, like, okay, I think people are echoing it and telling them that, like, hey, this one you guys could have done better in terms of how you presented that particular scene. I haven't got to that yet, so I don't know. I've just seen what we've seen on Twitter, right? But outside of that, what else though? Like, will that whole thing deter your whole want for playing the game because of them fumbling that particular thing, or you know? What I'm saying?
So then I guess I would say from that standpoint, as well as especially skill ups and Mr. Mattty plays, they specifically put some, so did Extra Life, but they put some specific scenes of character interactions, just like, and the most damning comment that and I was like, oh fuck, is when skill up said it's every interaction sounds like HR's standing in the room, and I'm like, oh, that is so, it's funny, but it's also
it was hilarious actually, but yeah,
but it's also. What that means to me is it seems like they've watered down anything that's like, you know, so one of the things he pointed out is there's no character clashes, right? So they don't at any point, they might have a disagreement and then 5 minutes later they're like, oh, I love you too, sort of thing. That's a very watered down base sort of version, but that's sort of what he's getting at. There's no nuance to the writing as a whole, and is from what I'm seeing. From what I've been in reviews, again, I haven't played the game, and some people won't mind this. Like, they won't mind this. And it feels like it's written, you know, when you write, and when I say teenage sitcom, you know, when a teenage sitcom conveys ideas and it tells you exactly what ideas it's conveying as it goes. You know what I mean? Doesn't, not even the trend, like, you know, like you shouldn't be mean to friends. And then it'll be like, to convey that idea in the sitcom, it'll be like, I'm sorry I was mean to you. I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Like that's that obvious writing, and that if there's a lot of that in it, that'll turn me off it. Like I'll just be like, oh, like I want someone to have an argument. I mean, you guys know I'm slightly combative, right? I want someone to have an argument and really, really go at it, and then there be like some bad blood, and then you've got to repair it and do all these, you know, like. Just some fucking, yeah. Look, it's not just the trans thing. Don't get me wrong. But I found that a little bit insulting. And I don't know why it pissed me off. It's got nothing to do with it. My politics is against that. I was just like, fuck, man, can't we do better than this? Like, I'm going to stop ranting in a minute. But like, if you look at the history of like Dragon Age and its writing, it's always had some of those campy moments, right? Like where it's like, a bit goofy and a bit silly and have that humor, you know, that like humor, like absolutely have it in there. But it's also had some really dark moments that are like, holy shit, damn. Like, you know, and I just feel like they changed the tone, and I don't think you can do that. Like I don't think you should do that. I think you push away your fan base. You know, like maybe and I could be, again, I'm going to go to the panel and see what your guys' thoughts on it, because I've ranted long enough. But
you have to get it off your chest, man. You have to get it off your chest.
But again, I just think, like, I don't know, have respect for your fans. You know, have some respect for who the developers that came before you. Have some respect for the identities that you're writing about. Have some respect for the people playing the game that, like, you know, we're not morons. We can figure shit out if you nuance it. And frankly, have respect for your development team behind hiring some decent writers that have got some chops. Like, you know, because these guys just don't, it looks like my 15-year-old wrote this. If this is like, you know what? I should start farming my kids out. Guys, write down whatever the hell you want. We'll send it out to video game companies. They're going to publish it. I'm sorry. That's just what I feel like. Like, write shit for an adult. I'm an adult. I can figure shit out. Like,
they have all type of didgeridoos and kangaroos in the game. Like, what's this in here for? Well, it comes from my little my children, Mike. What do you expect? No, but you know, I hear you on that. So, what would you say of your central view is that basically you feel like they dumbed it down? That's what I took from it.
Yeah,
you know, like they dumbed it down when you don't have to. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I get you on that, and I agree generally on that thought, because that one I saw was, I'm just going to be honest, it was cringeworthy. I have no issue whatsoever with any trends or they them. None of that bothers me, by the way. And I made my character to keep up with our brother Slow Mo and keeping in with his character Woke Mir. My character is called Dion. Dion. Yeah. So I'm keeping up the tradition. I'm keeping it going. It's because
That's solid gold.
I feel at this point you have to kind of play into it because it's become so outrageously over the top on the other side of things that it feels like to me sometimes maybe the developers are probably pushing back on that subconsciously in a game. I wonder if that plays into this at all. You know, like they're like, we're gonna go extra hard on the identity and such. Like I wonder if that plays into it. But what I will agree though is that it was fairly ham-fisted on some of the things I've seen. I haven't gotten to those points myself in a game to say one way or another. But you know, the way that they handled that was, I think it's important. Like if they put that in, okay, I'll put it to a way where I can relate. For instance, if they put something in there where it's supposed to relate to black people, and they're like, yeah, and they're like saying some stereotypically stupid things that's supposed to represent black people, I'm gonna have an issue with it. Yeah, I'm gonna be like, what is this? I can't get jiggy with this. You know, and they start having them talk crazy. Yeah, it becomes insulting. So it's a matter of how you do it. But the thing is, I'm sure the people who wrote these types of dialogues and things like that in the game probably are of the LGBT community. I just think that they probably handled it very poorly. But then that goes back to the director or the creative director or somebody. Somebody has to see this and say, nah, that's not how we're doing this. You know what I mean? And I think the environment might not be right for them where they can actually say, no, we don't like that without it coming off as them being against them. You know what I mean? I wonder if that plays into that at any point, if any pushback feels like oppression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I will say though that those specific scenes, yeah, it did look like, really? You said all that did start doing some push-ups as you're giving us a life lesson of acceptance and inclusion. It was like, that was so stupid. That was stupid. That scene in particular. What I will say though is that if the pros outweigh that con, I'm not going to focus on that con, right? And that's for any game. It doesn't have to be about the messaging and agendas maybe that's interlaid into a game. Every game has politics. I'm glad everybody is starting to learn that now. And as Donte pointed out earlier, it's typically if the politics or agenda aligns with you, maybe you don't have such an issue with it, right? And I think that's a very good point because when the games align with our general life view, we don't tend to complain about that. But other people might see that and be like, what the hell is this? Like, why am I ultra Chad, gung ho, shoot everything? But you know what? Some people might feel that and be like, "Yo, like, what's all this about?" You know, and that's why a lot of people had that pushback on Xbox originally with the 360 gen, where they called it the Dude Bro box, where they tried to label everything that because we had such an over, I guess, arcing amount of shooters and such like that, which kind of defined that gen for Xbox. Right now, it was really diverse, though. To be fair to Xbox during that gen, but it came prominent because of Gears and Halo, and it really kind of elevated Xbox in the I guess in the, I don't want to say the lexicon, but in the zeitgeist of gaming. People understood what Xbox was supposed to be about more so in that era, but I think we more aligned with that. We were more angsty, younger. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that aligned with our worldview at the time. Versus now, we have to grow up a bit, and we have to understand that the world is bigger than just us. And I think that's why so many people are having issues understanding that and accepting that, and that's why they're so anti whatever, right? Anti this, anti that, and it's become such a drag.
Yeah, it's like
it really
taking
has.
the enjoyment out of just basically experiencing things, you know, especially something that's supposed to be an escape for us, and it's like it's getting drowned out in these super hypercritical negative comments and stuff every time any game comes out.
Yeah, every time, man.
I
It's
agree.
like Somebody made a post about it, and I mean, I've been saying it, but it was like, why? Like, I'm just coming to see how is the combat, and every time I look to see what somebody's talking about, like the combat, like the one you posted, Donte, dude was like, they're talking about the woke and DEI, and like, damn, can you tell me how the combat works?
Right.
Like, we
How's
can't
it
even
play?
get to the basics. Yeah,
Right.
it's just like the basics are put to the side so they can complain and whine. It's like, damn, like. I think it's a time and a place, and I know this is an old saying. My grandmother used to always say, "It's time and a place for everything," right? And it feels like whining has become commonplace, and the time and the place does not matter anymore. And I feel like if you're going to have nuanced discussions, and you're going to have your view, not have your view ostracized and erased or pushed aside, you're going to have to be able to have a more nuanced discussion as to why you don't like what you like, and speak to what you do like in a game too. I don't want to hear you just complaining all the time. Nobody, listen, when somebody trauma dumps on you, after a minute you be like, all right, look, I gotta go. I got things to do now.
Like, damn,
yeah,
man.
because it's only so much as a human we can take in of somebody else's drama. And it's the same thing when it comes
Help me,
to
help you.
help me.
Help. How can I help you, fam?
Right, because you start whining all day. I'm gonna be like, look, I don't know. Look, go pick up a Bible or something. I don't know. Read the Word of God, something. Because at this point, it's like, damn, I can't. Would you want me to go read my story for you with my PC? Since you started playing the music, I mean, there we go. I'll get on my 4080 plus super, PC and build a story for you now.
Stupid.
No, it's just at a point. I think. And it's so stupid because it's dragged down gaming discourse so much. It really has, man. Yeah, it really has.
It's compartmentalized the genuine complaints. Like my complaints are genuine complaints, and they are. And like I said, Everborn Saga made this quite clear. And after thinking about it and sort of mulling it over, you say something, I'm going to think about it. I'm not stuck in my ways. I'm going to think has he got a point? And he had a massive point. Is it generally the writing that's the problem? Yeah, that's what it is. It's absolutely the writing that's the problem. So I think we should be calling out the writing, not the politics of it. Which is what I'm doing.
I would agree
call
with that.
out
it's the writing of how they presented it. It's not a matter of inclusion or anything like that. At least that's where you're coming from. But that's part of what I'm saying. You're coming at it from a nuanced standpoint and viewpoint of saying, hey, tell that, but tell it better. Don't do it ham-fisted where you're smashing it into people's faces and it's obvious, right? We don't need you to what's my man?
It's an important topic.
It is important. You don't need you to Michael Bay it. We need you to do this more subtly. Don't smash it into people's faces. Tell this in a proper way that honors that community as well. And what you're doing is you're undermining them by doing that because people are going to reject it because it's so stupidly done. But like you said, listen, I got plenty of gay family members and all that. None of this bothers me to see any of this representation in gaming. I'm a black man. I want to see more representation of us. I'm always happy to see us in something, so long as it's done well. Forspoken was trash. I do not like the way they handled that. I do not like the way they presented that girl. That was a poor representation of blackness. Not to say that it's not an element of blackness, but that's the stereotypical, let me turn my gun to the side, and she was the least hood black girl I could ever point a finger to, by the way. It was just poorly done all around. Listen, I got some hood over here that you ain't seen. You think that girl was representative of the hood? Not at all.
What does that let me turn my gun to the, what does that mean?
Well, they typically have black people turn their guns to the side.
Do they?
Busting sideways, fool. Riverside, fool. Damn, man. I'm like your resident black expert in this mug. Let us educate you. Busting sideways. Brace yourself, fool.
Yeah, have us turn our gun, which is historically will drop your accuracy, but that's
it's the worst way to shoot a gun. I missed every shot, dog. I don't know why. He was standing 5 feet in front of me. Break! God damn it! I can't hit this mug. But
that's your side. No, you just aiming to
thank
the
you
side.
For Blackness 101. We've just put some education
but you
out there.
Cool, though. You look cool. That's all that matters.
It's how you look at the moment.
Yeah, cool points. That's true. And look, cool points 100, accuracy 0.
Pretty much. Pretty
I
much.
always wondered about that, like when people held the gun, like, I'm like, why the fuck are they doing that? Like, I would be like two-handing it with one eye closed, like, I'm definitely gonna, if I'm shooting at this dude, he's gonna be angry. So if I don't hit him,
The answer to your question is foolishness.
Foolishness.
Lack of
Absolute
training.
foolishness.
There's no training. They just go out there and get the gun and go and shoot. That's what it is, you know. Hell, nowadays these dudes got switches and military grade weaponry, so they're gonna hit something. Something's getting hit. Even if they're not accurate.
the turret's like set up the turret on the side, but it's hitting everything. Like,
Kate, you want to get up in there and give us your impressions of Dragon Age, what you played so far?
Boy, oh boy. Okay, so I saw all the consternation online. As y'all can tell, and y'all who have followed me long enough, you know that I kind of keep that kind of stuff at arm's length. I may dip in, but I don't tend to put my thoughts like that on Front Street, because I feel like, as Riskit has pointed out during his TED Talk, I feel like you just get categorized, right? Immediately. You are part of A or you're part of B, and you may be more nuanced than that, but you don't have the opportunity to free yourself and have a nuanced conversation because the mouth breathers are in the room, right? So I tend to be at arm's length with it, right? I saw the videos that were discussed, right, that people thought were ham-fisted and all that. I too thought they were ham-fisted and all that. Like I said, I was gonna hold off, not because I didn't want to play the game, not because I didn't like the game. I've played every single Dragon Age, so I know the content. I know, the context with which these stories are delivered, right? But I was very much trying to avoid a 100-hour game, or like that. They say it's about 60 hours, but how I play it's a 100-hour game. I basically scour the entire.
Definitely doing the side quests, going over to that corner.
I want to make sure when I leave that area, there's nothing to see there again. So I always do that. So those tend to be 100-hour games for me. So I was trying to avoid it. But like I said, shout out to a great community member who's always in my chat, Floodzilla, who recommended that I switch to play EA Play Plus, or EA Play Pro, I should say. So you know what? A lot of the community's playing the game. There's a lot of interest, a lot of conversation around it. So I jumped into it. I was gonna say I'm 4 hours in because I keep saying that, but now I just literally looked at my EA Play Pro time and it's 7 hours and 43 minutes. So I'm 7 hours and 43 minutes in. And so far, what I can tell you is, I was gonna tell you that you're ridiculous and you're wrong, Riskit. From a gameplay, successful game perspective, you are wrong. This game is far better than the parts that have been shown on screen. But to your critique about the ham-fisted way things are delivered, I won't even push back on what you're saying. What I will say about it, and we lost the man, he should be back probably. What I will say about it is the way that game plays, right? The way that I've seen it play, and it's a little bit of a transition from the old Dragon Ages. They also had it too, but this has a far more different pivot on it. What we saw on display that we thought was ham-fisted played out that way because the player of the game chose certain answers to certain questions to get to that thing, right? So, is it in the game? 100% it's in the game, right? And everyone that thinks it's bad writing has every right to make mention and speak on that. But what I have noticed is that my playthrough and your playthrough may not play out that exact way, because you're gonna have to walk a certain way and go to follow a certain path for it to repeat itself exactly the way it repeated itself in that video, right? So to assume that is all that's there, that's a big part of the equation, is not necessarily accurate. There are playthroughs that I'm pretty confident that won't hear any of that at all. Depends on who you're with. It depends on the situation on the ground, and that's what that game is good at, right? Giving you options in dialogue to be able to help you, traverse what you want to traverse. So you may be playing a certain way and you'll never come across that kind of line of dialogue. There may be some that do come across that line of dialogue. Is it ham-fistedly written? I 100% agree. I think that's a little odd because beyond the way that I heard that play out, the writing that I've been a part of so far hasn't been bad. I will caveat it by saying this though. And I've been talking to my buddies in the Discord and they've been saying that to me. And I kind of do think it's a very valid criticism. I feel like the writing style in this game is kind of like, and I'll say this, and I think Donte, you and Umbra will understand. The writing in this game is kind of like a symptom, kind of like the Killmonger haircut, if you know what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah,
which
coincidentally is in the game, by the way.
He's in the game, of course.
I was like, no.
Why would it not be in the game?
That
it's definitely in the game.
Hairstyle.
But here's the thing: the reason why it's apt that haircut is in the game is the fact that I feel like, and I think it was John Wolfe who said that, and I really agree with. It's like they were all watching the Avengers movies, and or the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like time period, like the way or a copious amounts of Spider-Man movies where it's all about the next quip. You know what I'm saying? Like, like they speak. Yeah, they're in a period setting, right? And let me be clear, I don't have a problem with this at all, but it's a valid criticism for those who do have a problem with it. Where it's like they're in a period piece, they're in a period setting, and of course another issue of this being a really particular problem is the fact that you have other games in the series, so people come in having expectations. This is not a new whole cloth different experience, right? So they come in, fans expecting a certain thing, and what do they get? They get a period piece or a fantasy setting. We are in a post a Game of Thrones world, and it sounds like they're talking like they're in 2024 on Twitter, right? They sound, the parlance they use is too new school to be in that period setting, right? So it kind of loses people's immersion here and there. Like I said, I personally don't really care about that as much, but I feel like I see the criticism. It seems like everybody was watching those Avengers movies. Everybody during the time this movie was made, this game was made. It started in 2022. I'm actually reading a few of the articles about the time period and all that. 2022, right? They started this. We were knee deep in Avengers territory at that time. Every single one was better than the last, right?
Oh yeah.
So the way the language was delivered, exactly. The way the language was delivered, hugely popular, billions of fans, right? So people who are making these games, who are probably themselves also fans, right, are like, Killmonger haircut. It's beautiful. I'm gonna put that in my game, and that's what's happening here, right? And then of course, add to that, which you describe, Riskit. Add to that the fact that they want to tackle some difficult topics sometimes in the game, which seem to come out of nowhere, right? And if you're speaking with new language instead of the period language that people are used to, and you're also coming to ask to make these statements within it, right? It seems very contrived. That like it compounds upon itself and makes it sound worse than it actually is, right?
That's a really great point right there that you just made, because I think some of the pushback is because, first off, the MCU-ification of the dialogue, that makes perfect sense. So John was right about that. I do see what you mean. I already saw it from the time I've played. The quipping and all of that is very symptomatic of MCU, and people have shown they kind of like that. But I think MCU overdoes it. So I get what you mean, and also the period.
Well, remember, we are over MCU'd at this point, right? Because now it's been many years. This game has taken many years to come out. The idea that started it was during that time. So while we're sick of it now, it's still reminding us of those moments of that time period. One quick important factor here. I don't know if you guys have heard of Corrine Bush, who is the game director, she also is a trans woman, right? So and I've heard and read a lot of folks who themselves are trans folks, not specifically about the scenes we're discussing, but just in general, speak to how well represented they were in this game, right? So to Infinite Umbra's point, if it speaks to us, we're cool with it. But if it doesn't speak to us, we're turned off by it sometimes, or it disconnects us sometimes. I always caution my friends in the Discord when we chat. I always caution people in the idea that if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, let's critique why it's bad, right? But we must allow all voices to speak, even if the voices aren't speaking to us, right? So for me, I don't connect with that subject matter, right? And of course, I'm around it all day. I work corporate America. We are big on them pronouns. I understand. Yes, I understand. It is what it is, and I understand that for me, it may not be as important as it is for someone else. For me, I was like, yo, man, homie has my fade in the game, like literally my fade in the game.
It is
that is
in there.
A slow clap for me. Like,
by
slow
the way,
clap. We all
credit
have our
to them
own
on the
talent.
hairstyles. By the way, they did a pretty slick job with the black hairstyle.
I'll give them an 80. I'll give them an 80% because there were certain certain parts that are a little, but yeah, it's good.
Okay.
But
Let me say this: they never have my hair in the game because no one wants this shit. Like no, and so they just wouldn't put it in because no one's picking this. No one's like, I just want a slight, a little bit of receding on the front. I want some extra just in the middle there.
You know what,
just
though?
back. We're gonna,
you know what though,
we're gonna
Risk?
thin
They have
that
enough
out.
settings in there for the creator that you could probably pull your hairline.
Go
back
do that.
enough.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. You know,
They
that's
got
what
your
they
beard.
do.
They've got your beard in there.
Character creator, they should just let you paint your own hair like the way it should be. Like,
that would be cool.
Put a little bit right here, put a little bit. Anyway, but long story short, Riskit, what I will say to you is you should try the game because
I will.
It is better than the sum of the parts that have been leaked out online and that have been showing off online. I feel like you have already described, there are some agendas at play there trying to show the worst of itself. And yes, there are parts that are cringy. No doubt. I will say that, right? But all the great reviews I'm hearing and seeing in the community, and me with 7 hours of playtime, I'm excited to continue. The graphics are beautiful. The gameplay is quite nuanced. If you want to play it like a hack and slash, you can. If you want to play it like a FPS, you can. If you want to play, like, they give you very good builds to really like change up the different styles. But again, I will caveat all of this by saying, I tend to be a live and let live kind of dude, right? Like if I see a Marvel movie or a TV show or something that's completely diverged from the source material, my brain groks that as an Elseworld story, and I'll just kind of adjudicate it based on what they wanted to tell. I don't get on my high horse or pitchfork about it should be A or B. So even though I've played all of the Dragon Age games, I can understand that last one was so far removed from this one that if they want to reach a newer audience, they may have changed some things up a little bit, but the core Dragon Age is still there, and I think it's still pretty good. That's my take.
It's a hard line to. I understand that is it actually a very hard line to walk, even though it's often a demand from the community that you respect your core fans. I mean, look at Xbox. I mean, the way I would say this is like PlayStation's doing it right with the respect the core fans, and Xbox.
Where's your little sound bar for yourself when you drop like that real quick? That was not cool. But continue.
It's a hard line to walk because you want to respect your core fans. You want to bring in new fans, and so that's tough, you know. I sort of likened it yesterday to, like, you know, Xbox is like, you know, we're going to announce India, you know, a game show on PlayStation and just really disrespect your core fans, and then, you know, PlayStation on the other line is like, well, we're not doing this, we're doing it a little bit, we're just doing it a little bit, we're just doing it a little bit. We're just going to close the timeline. Like, and the fans are like, they know, but they're respecting at least the respect that's coming from PlayStation. Is like, we don't want to upset you guys. So that, you know, from a platform perspective to a game perspective.
That's that's a different way of looking at it, right? You could look at it that way, or you could look at it at the fact that they know that if they drop their hardcore today, PlayStation would be like out there like closed tomorrow. They need y'all, like they need you. Xbox don't need you.
I mean, that's true, especially with hits like COD.
Of Microsoft, like it is what it is. As a company, they're such a small part of it, so they can afford to, be experimental with their stuff. Whereas PlayStation has to cultivate the hardcore really tightly because that's the big business. Without it, what else do they got?
Well, I would. We won't get into the platform thing, but I would argue that they have more casuals than they have hardcores. I think we just see the hardcores.
Well, sure. The type of gamer notwithstanding, I'm just saying they need those people more, so they have to, lie to y'all more about it.
Oh, yeah.
You're not
Look, one other thing
we promise.
One other thing I wanted to say on this whole thing, and look, I know that we've done this ad nauseum, but I just feel like it needs to be, there needs to be some level-headed, reasonable minds, speaking on this stuff. So I apologize to the chat because I know that this is, I guess, has a negative connotation, but also, what you guys are saying has said Kay, Donte, Umbra, good perspective because again, caveat, I haven't played the game.
You should.
And this was,
it's quite good.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah. I will, but I'm just on COD right now. I got to get through that campaign and a couple of things, but I will. But
good campaign, by the way, COD. I really like it too.
Oh, great. We're definitely going to get into that. But one of the things I've seen is like, I'm not going to say toxic positivity, but forced positivity, as it seems to from some places, as it's like a purposeful pushback on the incels, and. This might be like a Riskit therapy session. I think we had one last week as well. But like, I actually don't know completely how I feel about that. And so this is a bit raw to sort of speak about. Normally I'll formulate how I feel and then come on and get some perspective from you guys and see what you guys think of my thoughts. But this is a bit raw. I feel like if that's the way we're going to push back on this, the incels. I'm going to call them incels. I think that doesn't help the conversation either because a lot of them aren't incels, and there's probably some nuanced people there. But for the if that's the way we're going to
continue,
mouth breathers. If that's the way we're going to push back on that, like to me, that just polarizes everyone much more because they're not stupid. Well, they are stupid, but they're not that stupid that they don't see what you're doing. You know what I mean? And I feel like it just draws out these battle lines, and then then we're at war. You know what I mean? I feel like if that's what we're doing, then we're like at war, and they're going to dig in harder, which I think they already are. I don't know if we can stop that now, but and then the positivity side of things is going to be like we're going to dig in harder, and then you don't get truth. I feel like that's the enemy of truth. Like. True. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
but
feel like
you're never going to get truth from people who have an agenda.
No,
like if they have an agenda which is to grift, there's no middle ground there. So it's like it's a dead conversation for the most part because no amount of information or data or nuanced conversations can kind of influence the person like Grums, right? Nothing's going to basically influence him to come around on some of his thoughts because for him right now it's become a driving force for engagement and probably money making, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's not even worth wading into that particular water with that particular person. Now, someone who wants to have a legitimate conversation, fine. That's the type of people you invite on your show because they're coming from a place of honesty versus someone who's coming from a place of I'm looking, like they've been looking this whole time for this game for a reason to say why it was going to fail, right? And basically when they didn't get all that, then they went and found something that they can try to make the narrative, which is that the infamous scene that we said is kind of a little ham-fisted. And then so therefore that becomes the narrative as to like, oh, we got to win. Or they're using the numbers on Steam for the free to play of Wilds as its player account to say, oh, look at Wilds is killing Dragon Age. It's like, well, yeah, it's a free to pay beta, like versus pay for the damn game. So it's like, I mean, yeah. So like, I don't even. I get what you're saying, but like that's a wasted wasted landscape where that person's never going to meet you and have an honest conversation.
And by the way, that is a valid point to make with, say, Unknown 9 or some other game that had a bunch of DEI hype or anti-hype on it, and then came out and the game was actually not good. This game, actually pretty good. And you can tell that because those who will stand with you and with me in saying that some of the conversation around it is might be some of the artistry on display might not be so good. Even they are agreeing that this game is not the sum of its parts, and when you put it together and you play it, you find yourself really enjoying it. It is actually a valuable game. So
that's what I was going to say. Every game is always greater than the sum of its parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not just one part of a game that makes a game. It's like it is the sum of its parts, and it is always going to be greater than those parts because, you know, you add one and one together, you get two, right? That's greater than one.
It's just the factor that the agree 100% cringy dialogue we saw on display seems to be an outlier, because so far 7 hours in, I found while I do agree that the MCUification is real, I haven't seen that cheap dialogue that was used in those videos.
Oh yeah, because they look. I'm under no illusion that they found the most cringy dialogue they could on Twitter, but I'm also under no illusion when SkillUp puts it in his video and he says, "Look, if you think I'm cherry picking, these are the conversations that you have." And I'm like, "Oh, look, they're not cringe. They're not cringe like her. They're like, oh, we couldn't do better than this." Like I just think in my head, could have done better than this. But the positivity thing is, and I, just to push back a little bit, and you're absolutely right about the people like Grumps. The people like that whatever, the hypnotic dude or whatever. But there was a couple of people that jumped in some of the conversations that I was having that was like, well, that didn't know better. They didn't know any better. They were like, one of them genuinely believed that Grums was like had his best interests at heart, and then he was like, "Well, prove it." And I'm like, "Well, this, and he was like, "Oh, okay." He was there for the conversation. And I guess when we draw battle lines, and I know they already drew battle lines, you know what I mean? Like they went to war with the video game industry, and I guess someone needs to push back. But I just think it's how that gets done that makes the difference. But I feel when we draw those battle lines and there's a no man's land in the middle, no one wants to be in that no man's land. Everyone's going to choose fucking sides, right? And even if we lose some of those people who could have had a reasonable conversation over to that side, and they become indoctrinated. Like, I know this sounds like we're talking about American politics or some shit, but like that's what I feel like. I'm literally describing polarization, because that's what happens with polarization. I think if we polarize the topic and we don't have the conversations, which is why I even got called a bigot by someone I fucking know, who I've spoken to, like who knows me, who knows better. To fucking intimate that that's what I am. But like then we that's what happens. That person knows me. He knows better. And so I feel like it's a little bit of a dangerous thing to do, to just get super positive, as in you're drawing your battle line. And Donte, I completely agree with what you say.
So one thing I want to say before I kind of give my 2 cents impressions on what I've played so far of Dragon Age is in terms of what we're talking about right now for positivity. So like I think there's also been a decent amount of people who I probably expected they may have had a positive opinion about the game, and they didn't, right? Like SkillUp didn't. Initially, Jez's thoughts weren't too positive, right? He was kind of definitely on the fence until later, where he started saying, okay, it's starting to get better for him. Same thing for, I think, Gene Park. He was kind of like completely on the fence for like 5 or 6 hours, right? If not longer.
And then he was in
before he started getting it, right? So I don't think it's been like overwhelmingly of a bunch of people who were just trying to be positive about it. I think some people eventually probably got won over, and that should be the idea of like, can the game grab you? Now you can have an argument or a conversation about, you know, should it take X many hours before I start really getting into a game for it to win me over? That's a legitimate conversation to have, but I think then at least you're basing the conversation as to how my experience changed because of what the game started giving back to me. Same way kind of how I feel about like Starfield. It's like the longer I play it, the more it really started opening itself up to me, where I start to really fall in love with the game. So like that's just that part along But so I think it's been kind of a balance. Maybe there's some out there who are trying to force it, but I think for the most part, most of the people we interact with, they've been pretty kind of open and honest about what they didn't like and did like, and haven't tried to just kind of force feed a narrative to beat back against the Grums of the world. In terms of the game of what I've experienced, because I've never played any Dragon Age, so I'm coming in this with no particular expectations. I can also see a situation where the company is saying that like I get what you mean about like honoring your core audience who basically follow a franchise, and I completely understand that. I think there could also be an area for them to say, hey, we're trying to also go after like a new audience or maybe a younger audience. So maybe that's why it's a little bit more watered down and maybe not as dark as maybe some people would want it, if you're wanting a more darker tone to the world and the art style. But just from a standpoint of just like the game mechanics, I'm just gonna go off of like my impressions. To me, like I'm cool with the art style, like that's their choice, and it looks gorgeous, so we'll just go with that. I to probably like these type of setting games to be a little bit more grittier, but at the same time, like I'm not gonna complain as to that's the choice that they made. But the mechanics I've been enjoying, like the combat. I'm someone who really loves BioWare's their formula where it's kind of like you prime something, you detonate. Like I love that. And in like the first hour or so of playing the game with like I'm doing the warrior build, and I'm like, oh, I just start finding out additional things in this early part of the game that my character is able to do, where I'm not having to like earn this later. I'm already getting these things in, and I'm looking at the skill tree and I'm like, oh, I got so far to go, upon which I can unlock and then synergize with my different characters who are within inside my party, and also the different type of armor pieces that can enhance the different types of abilities that you're doing. So from that standpoint, that's what I care about. Like how's the gameplay doing? I haven't come across enough of the story to have a opinion so far. What I've experienced seems, I'm interested. I want to see where it goes. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some campy conversations and dialogue. That's just going to be kind of like the nature of these type of games. But so far, it seems to me it looks like it's promising. So hopefully, we don't see too many of these scenarios that we saw before with, that everyone's kind of talking about, with the kind of like the forced conversation about non-binary and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like I'm not mad at them for basically trying to get a point across that they feel that like they've been the target for that conversation, right? They feel like people have been constantly just kind of railing against it, and they're just kind of like, hey, we're going to beat you over the head with it. It's not going to bother me if that's the one thing within the game and the rest of the game isn't trying to hammer something across your head. I'm not going to judge the whole game off of one thing that I feel could have been delivered a little bit better. So yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm interested in I'm definitely going to be jumping and playing it after we get done with the cast. So far, so good.
And that's a good point right there, actually, Donte, because I haven't gotten to that part. You haven't gotten to it yet. From what we played so far, we're both enjoying it. I've heard people 4 hours in that were like kind of weary. Were like, no, the game is good. So as long as the gameplay and everything is landing, and that moment is like very few and far in between, I'm not going to be holding it against the game. I'll say, hey, I didn't like that part, and I'm going to keep it moving. It's not going to stop everything else. So that's a fair point right there.
Yeah, you done it, Quasada. Yeah, I did sort of say that everyone who followed Grums is an incel. But I mean, that is a broad brushstroke. So I apologize. I'm sure there's some people who are just not informed and understand what's going on Twitter, because maybe people don't spend as much time. So that's a fair critique, Yidani, and I'll take that on board.
Kudos to you calling it out, and kudos to you accepting it and saying, hey, my bad. Really? See, but that right there is how grown men should converse.
Hey, my YouTube is tripping right now.
What happened?
Just died.
Uh-oh.
No. All right,
go woke. Go bro.
Grums! It's a Grums attack.
Like, Grums is like, launch attack.
Go woke, go bro. Man, what happened? You put too much diversity in your words. You got rid of you.
So yeah, I look at exactly what you said as well. The other thing as well to mention is I watched the three probably on RPGs, Fextra Life, and I know some background stuff with people saying he's using AI, but generally Fextra Life, I think with RPGs is like one of the go-to guys. Skill Ups, like everything Skill Up says, ACG and Mr. Mattty Plays. I watched all those reviews and they were all very similar in the similar vein. And then I saw all the media stuff and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what's going on here? And so look, I did get a very negative point of view from all of those reviews. And again, caveat, didn't play the game, so I need to go and play the game. Because if I'm feeling this way about the game, right? This is what I see. And someone made this point. So one of the guys from Gamers Heroes, the editor over there, me and him were having a conversation. He's like, look, at the end of the day, you just need to play. Your opinion can't be truly taken seriously, and I would agree with this unless you've played the game. And I haven't played the game. So everything in the chat, everyone, I just want you to know, like, it's huge caveat, right? That I haven't played the game. And when I do, I'll come back and go, yeah, look, it's a bit over the top, or it wasn't over the top, or whatever. But
Riskit,
I wanted to put that out there.
Don't worry.
The main thing
we
is,
know
how does it play? Like, do you enjoy the actual gameplay? Is it fun? You know, that's what I want us to get back to as, you know, gamers and people who have conversations about this particular art is like, so was it fun? You know, what do you like about the mechanics? What do you know, what you don't? That's what I want. You know what I'm saying? Like those conversations, I feel like we're not having enough of those.
And I was going to say, Riskit, we do know that you feel about Skill Up the way Keeley feels about Gajima, so it's okay. It's all right if you're taking his words seriously. You know. I'm sorry, I'm here for the slander tonight. That's what I'm here for. I'm good.
Now, look, I would say I do. Skill Up is my guy, man. Like,
I know. Yes, I know.
So
yes,
I know.
He skewered the review was like skewering. I mean, the man's reviews are usually pretty spot on and on point. I'm a fan of his. I am expecting to see this game drop off considerably to get to where he is. Right now, I really disagree with everything he has to say about it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat right now. I agree. I'm in the same boat where I'm not seeing what he saw just yet. But yeah, I will say though, by the way, Fextra Life, I did follow him for when it came to like guides for Diablo 4, stuff like that or whatever. Shout out to him. But he did fall into this nonsense too and use Grums as some type of source. And I was like, why would you sully the things you're doing with this dude? Like, why? So, you know, anyway.
Yeah, again, I would say on that point, maybe he's not on Twitter. And this is the thing. This is the problem. Like, some people will like take this as like, oh, this guy's like on the up and up, but he is in the truest fucking sense of the word a grifter. Like, truest sense of the word. Like, you can tell with that NDA. You brought up the NDA, and it's like, you're a fucking developer, bro. You know that this is fake. You know. You damn well know. Anyway, go and check out Colin Moriarty's Twitter, and because exactly what he said is just absolutely outlines exactly what I think of when he called. We got to move on from this topic. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Oh, Colin would just.
That would be funny. That would be funny.
I would love it. I would love it. I hope he does. I would love to see that, because that's what you need, is someone to just kill that fucking dude like on video, and then we're done. It's all good. Put him in the ground, bury him. I don't mean like physically. I mean verbally.
Yeah. Metaphorically speaking.
Metaphorically speaking. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, let's jump to the giveaway, and then we'll jump into the next topic. Before I do, please hit the like button, share us out. Last chance, if you guys want to win a copy of Dragon Age's hashtag Dragon Age in the chat, Dragon capital D, Age capital A, and then we'll jump into this giveaway. And I think I shortened the time this time, so it actually it works. There's a whole bunch of people in there. Look, I'm in there. I should have put hashtag Dragon Age in the chat, but I did. So yeah, last chance to give you a couple of minutes.
Look at him. Look at
what
him.
What if you won?
A win.
Right.
Look at him.
What if I win it? That'd be fantastic.
Watches the Watchmen.
Everyone boo this man if he pulls his own name. Right. Boo this man to get the fixes in, folks.
All right, ready? Let's do this.
It's gonna be on Biff.
Ooh.
That was loud right there. That was like somebody had the gun turned to the side and shot it off.
Oh wait, sorry about this. Sorry, I gotta stop that. That's really low. Sorry about that.
Where is my D-Mac is the winner of a brand new copy of Dragon Age Veilguard. Sorry. You guys are
Hey,
congratulations, D-Mac.
D-Mac.
Yeah, absolutely. If you obviously be following me or Umbra on Twitter, just send us a message or we'll find you if your name is DMAC on Twitter, and we'll get that out to you ASAP. Thank you very much. Shout out to Umbra for offering and coming up with the idea. You're an absolute champion. Appreciate it, Umbra. Yeah, I appreciate you giving back to the community. And who was the person on your show? The
Felix.
Lady on your show?
Felix. _ Doe.
Yeah.
DOE.
And shout out to Felix as well.
Yep.
Absolute legend. I love that sort of stuff when people give back to the community. There hasn't been enough codes in chats lately, so I'm thinking like I might get out there with some Game Pass codes. Like I was thinking about that the other day because I don't feel like we're getting a lot of codes in chats these days.
I hear you.
I might do that.
I got a few Steam codes, by the way, that I haven't used. I could probably, I know K got some.
I have hundreds of Steam codes. Nobody want to hear that from us. See what you did? See what you did?
See, they don't want to hear this from us, though. See, I started talking about PC games
in the chat right now.
All right, see, you all could be having gaming bliss, but you want to choose to turn away from PC.
Look, I got a couple of super chats. I want to jump on them. You Danny Kazada says, Risk, just say you want a gay makeup sex scene.
Yeah, we got you.
Absolutely. Love that stuff. Lotus Esprit gifted 20 memberships. Thank you very much, Lotus. Really, really appreciate it. Always coming through and jump in the chat, and everyone in the chat for just jumping in. Like, you guys are fantastic. We got a great chat. Comes here every week. You're respectful. We have like a good, honest conversations. It's a good place, and the chat does too. So I love this chat. You guys are absolutely amazing. Moving on to the next topic, something more positive. Oh man! So this card, and I want some more numbers on this, but this card I've been absolutely loving this. I love the movement. I love the graphics. I love the fact that I got 120 FPS mode. I got all the frames on my Xbox Series X. I love the weapons. I love the feel. Not massive on the maps. The only complaint that I have, and this particular card has brought the number 1 total players, number 1 hours played, and number 1 total matches. I would like Microsoft to do a victory lap with this one and give us some actual numbers for what sales are. But I'll also take a massive L here. I don't think it's like a proper L, but I'll take an L because last show, it was before COD released, and I was a little concerned about what they would do to Game Pass if they didn't get the sales and didn't get the subs boost. And from the looks of it, they've had a 164%, correct me if I'm wrong, 164% uptick in Game Pass Ultimate to play COD. As well as number 1 players on Steam over Modern Warfare 2, which was the comeback. So that says to me that they would be tracking around about the same sales. And Modern Warfare 2 was 800 million first 3 days and over 1 billion in the first 10. So this has been an absolute huge win. So straight to what Kay was saying, they don't need you. They don't need us hardcores. They got everyone on COD. They don't need us to see. Let's see what they do with that. But to me, this bodes well because I said the worst possible outcome is they don't get enough subs, they don't get enough sales, and then they start making changes. Well, it looks like they got enough sales. It looks like they got enough subs. And to me, that is just the best case scenario so that we can see COD and Game Pass going forward and we just see them doing what they do. What they do outside of that, hopefully Satya understands that this is a bit of a different kettle of fish, COD. Surely he has to understand that, and they don't start doing this to every game. But I think it's absolute success. I'm loving the campaign. I don't know if you guys in the chat have played it, and I don't know what you guys are up to. But I don't want to do any spoilers. But there's just some good old-fashioned COD, like some typical sort of COD stuff in it. The open world was done really, really well. If you guys played Modern Warfare 3, that was just like, what are you doing? They're like cookie-cutted Modern Warfare and dropped Warzone and dropped it straight into the campaign, and it was horrifically bad. Like it was like a Warzone map in the campaign. It's like, dude, this is just lazy development. Like, and I don't say that lightly. Let's say it's rush development, but it just seemed really lazy to me. This COD, their open world's well thought out. There's side objectives. There's things you can do. It's not like it's an open world like game, but like think what they inserted into their linear sort of sections is great. I'm at a point where things get a little bit weird, and I can't. Yeah,
I know
it gets a
exactly
little
where
bit
you're at.
weird.
That's getting weird for me too. Indeed.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
it feels like that is sort of has open world, not open world. What would I say? Like a linear, sort of like The Last of Us 2 when you got to that section and like you could go do some certain things in a small area. And that's sort of what this bit feels like. And it's got that COD weirdness. And I saw some people saying they didn't really like it. It got a little bit too weird. So I don't know exactly where this is going to go, but I like how it's tied in. And I can't say how it's tied in because that would be a spoiler, but I like how it's tied in. And I'm like,
Wait, sorry,
that's going to make.
This is from what? Is
God,
this part of the campaign? Something in the campaign?
Yes.
Because I'm
Yeah.
only like
Yes.
three boards into that, so I wouldn't have experienced it yet, right? Like 3 levels. Of the
Probably
campaign?
not. No,
Nope.
you're not there
Nope.
yet.
Okay.
I
Well,
will
how
just
how
say,
long is the campaign? How long is it roughly? Because I just rescued
7-8 hours?
what's the name from like the CIA black site. So like, am I still like super early?
You're
Yes.
close.
I'm close
Yeah.
to this is what you guys are talking about right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're close
we're
to the
talking about
open world
same thing,
section?
You're close. Yeah, you're close to the open world section.
Yeah.
True. And then
Okay,
after the
okay.
open world section, things get a little interesting.
Things
Okay.
get a little interesting,
All right.
but I can't spoil it. But it ties into something else, and then you're like, "Oh, that's kind of clever." I like how you did that. So I might go. I might spend some more time in other, in. You can't. I'd ruin it. So in the campaign,
Yeah, don't tell me.
I'll
Don't
spend-
tell me. I'm gonna keep playing it, and I'll figure it out between
It's-
tonight and tomorrow.
It's cool, man. Like it's really cool, and it's great to see a return to form. And I think for Xbox on as a COD, this is. I think they made the right decision to not launch, Modern Warfare. I don't know if they could with the deals, but I think it just worked out, or the right decision for them not to launch Modern Warfare 3 and sort of own that in Game Pass, because I think that would have looked bad overall. I think this was the COD. They like absolutely nailed this COD. I haven't even seen much of the. I don't see much of it anymore because I'm not in the thing. But like I haven't even seen much of this. Like COD sucks because Xbox. I haven't even seen a whole lot of that. Like because this COD I think is so great.
Complain because it's so well done. It's like nothing they could do. Let me ask you, Risk, because I haven't played enough of it to give any real thought. I played the first mission and everything. I did hear a bit of the Michael Bay-ish dialogue. I was kind of like. It's funny we were just talking about that with with Dragon Age, but I cringed during that too. And I was like, okay, shut up, lady. Because she's like, yeah, shoot him down. I'm like, all right, shut up. Like, I'm not talking like that during an intense helicopter Apache shooting coming at me. Yeah, take him down. It's all calm and regular. I'm like, you sound way too calm because this thing could wipe us off the map. And you're like, just take him down. I'm like, you sound real matter-of-factly like we're going to do this. But regardless of that, visuals looked really good. Shooting mechanics are top notch. I liked the little safe house situation, and I liked all of that. My question was going to be, as far as I know, the campaign is not really long. It's about 10 hours, maybe something like that. I have to get into the zombies, man. I only played it in Modern Warfare 3 remake or whatever. So I want to get into that for this. What was the question I was going to ask
fun,
you?
Dude.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, you should if you see me on, man, because that's what we've been playing.
Yeah,
and it's pretty fun because it's like it's a little different than the last one. Did you wait? You haven't played it in a while. So the last one was kind of like a bigger map where you were kind of like kind of progressing through different zones if you wanted to, and the different zones got a little bit more, definitely like got harder, right? This one's like one map upon which you're like, well, there's 2 maps actually, but it's just one particular large enough map, and you're progressing through different parts where you gotta, you pay to unlock different parts, so you want to ultimately unlock everything. And then there's also like side stuff that you're doing that's kind of story related within it that you could be doing during that. So you're surviving, you're upgrading your weapons, you're upgrading the rarity of your weapons, you're upgrading your ammo, where like you can shoot shock ammo and fire ammo.
Can you actually beat it like a story mode would be?
I think so. I think there was a thing which I wasn't paying attention to. My dumb ass was just jumping in with the boys, just trying to survive for as many rounds as possible. But there's like a story element that I think if you had beat it by it's probably over now, but it's like within this week or whatever that you would have got some type of reward for doing so by completing like the story portion of it. So so when you jump in with some other randos and then you see someone who's actually doing the objective, you're like, oh, there's objectives. Like, so, like someone's actually doing certain thing. He's progressing a story beat within it, just not just survive as long as you possibly can
That
until
makes
thing
me
gets
crack
harder
up.
in the next film. So
Because I think of when I play Halo, for instance, and I'm doing the objective, everybody else just running around shooting people. I'm like, that this is objective based, right? Like,
right.
I'm the only one over here.
Yeah, I'm just out there. I'm just like, I'm fighting for my life, man. I'm running, zip lining from here to here, just trying to survive. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. I got to get more into it.
Yeah, man, that's straight up Battlefield PTFO stuff. Play the fucking objective. Like, it used to drive me insane. But I have not picked up zombies yet on this. I'm not a massive zombies player, so I can't really sort of speak on that. But what I can say with the multiplayer, like, great. It's so good. Like, it's just on point. Yeah.
Is it better than Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer for you already?
Yes. By far and away. Yeah.
Way far. Okay.
Yeah, by far and away. It's so it's a little bit more. It's a little faster paced, and Modern Warfare 3 was fast paced already. 2 and 1, Modern Warfare 2 and 1 were the sort of slower paced ones. They've sort of moved on from the Cold War multiplayer, which I absolutely hated it with a passion. Hated it. It was so twitchy. So they've sort of taken the best, I think, from Treyarch, which is the Black Ops guys, and Infinity Ward, and sort of melded them together. And they've nailed it, like absolutely nailed it.
Oh, I know the question I was going to ask now. With this version of Call of Duty here, was this one of the first ones that was like a multi-year project? Because they typically had a yearly one. Now, was this the biannual type one?
This is 4 years.
It's 4 years.
Okay, so this is 4. Okay. So this
normally what happens when you give a dev time to actually
exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
and then like refine and put out a really polished product. It shows you like the level of quality that can be, especially for a really talented dev, which a lot of the COD devs really are. So if you give them time, that's why we didn't get a worthwhile story for Modern Warfare last year, because to me I felt like it was like, oh well, we got to give them something. It's not fully ready, but here, take these 4 hours or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
It's a little bit dirty though, right? Because they probably also knew that this was looking the goods, so they were like, look, we'll give them this. They're gonna hate it. We know they're gonna hate it. They're gonna see that we're being lazy, but when we give them the next one, they're gonna forgive us. And that's just, it's true, but it's also a little bit like, come on, guys, like don't put it out there.
I will throw in that recently there was an article that came out that a Call of Duty developer was basically put on record as saying that even post ABK acquisition, Microsoft is not making any changes to their cadence, so expect yearly releases still.
Interesting.
Which goes against what we want at this point, because clearly the more time you put into
the
it,
more time we get a better product. Yeah, that's right. We get a better product.
So there's just that,
like
as a business,
every 2 years, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't you got 2 games right now, and you still got Warzone, which you're obviously doing. So you got two games that are still running between Modern Warfare and now Black Ops, and then you got Warzone going. You can't let these 2 things kind of survive for 2 years to wait for the next big main story campaign polished thing.
But like business-wise, think of this business-wise. So if you, and I know that sucks for us as consumers, but like it makes sense to me that that's the truth. That's what's happening, because like if I was a business and it's like, all right, I'm putting 200 million into this COD, and I'm getting a billion back for it, right, every year, or I'm putting 400 million into this COD, and I'm getting 500 million back. Like, like a year, right? Like that to me is like that's not a decision as a business that I think that you would make, as much as that sucks for us, right? Because you're putting extra money into dev time and you're getting less back because it's only every 2 years, right?
Yeah. You just don't want to degrade your product. And I feel that, when you're putting people on these annual deadlines, and then it becomes like, okay, so it's just like, checking the boxes to make sure you hit your revenue numbers, right? But then people start saying, oh, like, the reactions you're seeing for some people is like, okay, this COD is one of the, it's just a COD that feels good in some years, right? That, like it was when I played it 5 years ago, whatever the case is, right? And I think you want that. Maybe you're trying to stifle off fatigue, right? And when you do that, just crank out the next one for next winter. Then it's like, okay, you can get fatigue, especially if it comes out and it's subpar, the way like last year's campaign really didn't hit for people.
Yeah. I don't know how you get around. The thing is, like, same as FIFA, right? Because like people just keep buying it. So it's like,
but those make sense because like rosters change though. Like rosters change for sports games. So like I kind of get that. Like every year there's different players who may end up on whatever squads, who have gotten better, who had a really great, you know what I'm saying? And so like their numbers come up depending on the season they had the previous year. So like I get those type of games, sports games for having annual releases because that's the way sports is. But like narrative-based games and games if you're trying to innovate something a little bit when it comes to PvP, PvE, like those type of things, like the Omni movement stuff, right? That's adding something that hasn't been into COD for a minute, right? So it's like you don't get things like that by just year after year not giving your devs some time to kind of come up, test and try some things and say, all right, this one is going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like this one cooked and we really got, this one's going to make people say yes. COD still top tier. So
I should interject and I should add to this next real quick. A, I love the game. B, I'm all in on the campaign. I have not touched the multiplayer yet. I want to finish the campaign first. And here is where I will add the caveat that we can throw our pinkies in the air all day and drink some interesting stuff. But at the end of the day, the PC version of the game is having some issues.
PC version of COD? Is it so is it the PC through Steam or Windows or both?
PC through Windows, not PC through Steam.
In other words, we were talking about this before about Game Windows
Pass,
having issues,
right?
Yeah.
Yes,
we did.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's on Microsoft. Instance,
true. What's happening here is, and I have like footage captured. There are some times where there's such drastic pop-in that you enter in the campaign. You enter an area to start fighting, and it's almost like you're in space. All the characters are running around. And this is not a spoiler. At the beginning of the campaign, when you're trying to when you're recruiting the female operative into your team early on, right? You're recruiting her, and one of the parts of it is you have to help her defeat an enemy. So you guys are running around, and there's like innocent bystanders running around all over the place. I started that level in space, and then like about a minute and a half into it, the world clicked back in, and there they were, the canisters and the everything else. Same levels when you were swimming. You can swim to hide from the guard. Stop it. Yeah, swim to hide from the guard. The water was disappearing.
Problems.
Well, the problems here are that even though it is 4 years and people think that's impressive, how long on average does it take to make a high quality game that is on multiple platforms, including last gen? On average, it takes like 6 years. Yeah. On average, right? These guys are freaking crazy in how they are able to execute, but there's always sacrifices somewhere. And this time, it seems like the sacrifices or the concessions were in optimization and bug fixing and all of that on the PC side. So
it's interesting you say that, by the way.
While we throwing all this love at it, at least on the console side, on the Windows side of the house, there is some caveats. Go ahead, Umbra. What were you saying?
Now, to your point, I had shared it to the chat with Riskit and him. I could not get the game to boot up for me on PC through the Windows.
Damn, man.
So I had to go to Xbox. I was
on those PCs.
I was forced to go to console
You can calm down there, Donte. I see that smile on your face. Get out here.
No, man. I don't wish that on y'all. I don't wish that on y'all for nothing, man.
I was forced into peasantry, K. I was forced into peasantry.
You forced into peasantry?
Yeah.
Wow, that is harsh. What is wrong with you?
I had to go into the slums of the console community to play this game.
So I will say, I play on the big boy PC and it runs great, and then I play it on the handheld, and the handheld also runs great. Average 77 frames per second, pretty good. Problem is, at some point, when the handheld would boot up, it would restart back to the beginning of level, like beginning of the game, multiple times. On the big PC, it still continues, but it's no longer synchronized. And that's another weird situation. I will be remiss if I don't say Mr. Everborn Saga puts in a brilliant performance as Taylor. He's amazing. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. Yeah. It is fantastic. The man is chef's kiss. Anyway, I think the game is worth it. I just think it needs more bug fixes on the PC side. But ultimately, it is pretty awesome. What I found spectacularly odd is the fact that Dragon Age the Veilguard overshadowed it so quickly on Steam when it came out. Because this game is like Call of Duty is literally taking over both the casuals and the hardcore. So interesting.
And that engine for Dragon Age as well, Frostbite. Is it Frostbite?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Frostbite. That's the Battlefield engine. It's a solid engine. It's not like the Blam engine that's been rebuilt. It is a fully fleshed out engine. Brilliant engine. Love that engine.
Also great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so is the COD engine as well. That's just, the IW engine is just a version of the Doom engine from way back. The IdTech engine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an iteration of that. So, look, cutting back to look. If you look at the developers for COD, Donte is Treyarch, Infinity Ward. They're your main two that'll handle usually the direction of the game and the multiplayer, as well as they'll have a hand in the campaign and sort of where that goes. So they sort of build that out, and then they'll bring in High Moon, Activision Shanghai, Raven Software, Sledgehammer, or Raven or Demonware or Beenox. They all work on sections of the game. There'll be usually 2 to 3 studios working on any one particular game, and then the whole lot of them will come in at once. So look, I get what you're saying. I think what they do is doing what they do at the iteration that they do it at is possible, and we've seen them do it. But it does seem, you're right, that they we have Vanguard. I didn't mind Vanguard. It seems like they have a big hit. Modern Warfare 2019, and they have a Vanguard. Then they have Modern Warfare 2. Everyone loved it. Then they have a Cold War. Well, I mean, everyone loved Cold War 2. Then they have a Cold War. But to me, then they have a Cold War. The campaign was amazing on Cold War, by the way. I love the campaign. And then, they have they might follow that up with a Modern Warfare 3. It's just rubbish. And so it seems to be to me, a couple of iterations or an iteration is always bad in between. So I feel like the next year's one's not going to be worth it. And I agree, man. Look, if you can't do it right, then don't do it. You know what I mean? Give it that 2 years time to breathe. So you've got them built out for 4 years or 5 years or whatever it takes you to sort of push the envelope. But I think we're also at the back end of a long COD domination. And I hope it doesn't happen for Xbox, pause. I hope it doesn't happen for Xbox, but I feel like they're sort of ripe to be knocked off the perch in one of these poor iterations, but no one's managed to do it yet. You know what I mean? No one's come up with that COD killer, the COD killer.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest, it was between just COD and Battlefield, but COD is clearly, maintained it. And I'm a Battlefield guy. I play that multiplayer more than I play COD's multiplayer, but it hasn't ever been able to, in years, it hasn't been on the same playing field in terms of, especially player count. The weird thing too about when a game has a miss though, it's always that thing where, all right, cool, then people can then get excited by when the next one comes out or the next one after that they've really been taking their time to cook for it to have a comeback as long as it's quality. I feel like that's kind of what's happened with Black Ops, right? Where it's all right, you finally got another good quality COD campaign, and along with obviously the multiplayer after the lackluster campaign of last year's COD.
Yeah, that. And as well, if you go back to, I think it was Black Ops 4, that didn't even have a campaign. And I played that for minutes. I was played the multiplayer for minutes and shut it down. So look, man, but this is just a huge success for Microsoft. We sort of feature into our next topic. Before we jump into that, please hit the like button. Share us out. We go live 8 p.m. every second Friday with a pre-record in between just because of my work situation. Hopefully that changes soon. But Microsoft's Q1 fiscal year 2025 earnings. We're going to talk numbers. We're going to talk sales. We're going to do all the things that the ponies like to do. So look, Xbox's gaming revenue was up 43% year over year. It's 5.62 billion. That's ridiculous. Their year over year for content services, I'm not sure, but that was up 61%. Get excited, people, because we can play sales. Hardware down 29%, which is sort of expected at the back end of a generation, which I feel like we're at the back end right now. Pause. And trailing 12-month revenue is over 23 billion, its highest ever. So, you know, with just looking at the year over, even Activision is up 53%. Looking at the year over year, Xbox is absolutely all positive. So look, as much as Riskit complains about what they're doing and the exclusivity stuff and everything, it seems that whatever they're doing, I mean, look, let's be honest, it's a purchase, but it seems that whatever they're doing right now for the short term is making sense to them. You know, so really, what do we know? We're just gamers. We want specific things for us. I want exclusivity so I can lord it over people on Twitter. That's not really why I want it. I just want it so the platform survives. But it looks like the platform's surviving absolutely fine. Obviously, COD's made a big impact on that. Xbox has got a huge packed back end of the year. Pause. Huge packed back end of the year. So, I mean, what we got? We got Indiana Jones coming. We got Avowed coming start of the year. So we got Indiana Jones. We got Stalker, which is I believe 3-month console exclusive. And Stalker, I agree, is not going to be what people think it's going to be. So be careful with that. What else they got at the back end of this? Something else they got, the third game that I'm missing here at the back end of the year. We got Indiana Jones. We got Stalker.
We got Stalker, right? That's it.
Stalker.
This year.
Oh, is that it?
Then we go into next year, and then we get Avowed.
They got a terrible back end of the year. Yeah, well, they got that's the third one. They got COD, they got Indy, they got Stalker. That is a great way to finish the year. Then they're moving on into Avowed. Then I assume it's South of Midnight that'll follow that up. I think that I've said this every single year, and Microsoft, if you make me a liar this year, I swear to God, me and Tim Dog are going to be hanging out. No, I'm kidding. Me and D-Batch will be like hugging and shit in the streets. No, look, look, this looks like the year that we get one a quarter. I'm hoping that we get that
you
one
mean
a quarter.
2025, right? Where with the cadence, they finally get the cadence right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, look. They almost hit one a quarter this year because you got COD, you got Indy, you got Stalker. They just did it all in the back end of the year, condensed. If they can just hit one a quarter and keep that momentum going, and I think this is a really important time, an important time for them to do that because you've just dropped COD, you've upped your subscriber numbers on Game Pass by 160 something %, right? Your content services are up by 60 something %. And if you can keep that momentum by saying, hey, while you're playing COD and you're getting a little bit tired of Riskit absolutely just destroying you in every multiplayer lobby, when you rage quit, right, then you jump on Indiana Jones, you play a little bit of Indy, or you jump on Stalker for a change of pace, right? Come back, Riskit destroys you in COD. Okay. But look, it sort of moves people on. And then they get into the next year. It's like, oh, I'm still playing COD, so I'm going to keep my subscription. Just finished Indy. Played a bit of Stalker, enjoyed that, finished Stalker, whatever. Then I jump on Avowed, and I check that out. That's something else to me that's huge. It's in Game Pass. You know, finish Avowed, then you're like looking at South of Midnight. I just think they can keep those numbers up. You're always going to lose a few. They can keep those numbers up until they hit next November, and they're like, boom, another COD. And I think this is like, if they can just get this cadence right, and this is, I think, the most important time for them to nail it. And I really believe they can. I think they got it.
They got to.
Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I think that's the. Otherwise, it's a terrible mismanagement of all the different studios that you have and all the different people in place who should have the ability to kind of keep the studios on track or give them the resources that they need to make their deadlines. But at this point, it's kind of like because when we look at these numbers, obviously we can sit there and say, hey, this is great. It shows why they purchased ABK. It's like, okay, completely makes sense. That's good. But then you see the hardware number, right? And you're like, man, if only you also could find a way to improve that, you would, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would the company's outlook on Microsoft Gaming Division be if they could stop seeing because it's been a dip now. It's been a negative number for pretty much, I think, the last 4 or 5 quarters, right? In terms of this the hardware number. So if they got to find a way to kind of, unless they're just completely, they're not getting out of it, right? They're not getting out of the hardware game. So you got to find a way to at least incentivize us or incentivize the consumer. So that way it's like, okay, so we're clicking on software and services and games, and also that hardware number is starting to look better. You just can't concede that away completely to PlayStation.
Do they need to though? Like,
I mean,
I don't know. Looking at these numbers, like,
though, do you concede it away to PlayStation and just say,
I don't want them to.
You know, that's my thing. Like the hardcore who are still like diehard Xbox fans, right? They want to play on Xbox consoles for the most part. Not everybody wants to play on PC. I have a high-end PC, but like I don't always want to play on PC. I like to play in my living room, right? Or my large TV.
Damn right.
So that's where I choose to. So like people like me are still kind of like, don't just tell me I can go build a high-end PC and still enjoy all your games. I want a high-end, like a very high-end functional console, right? Something that I feel gives me the nice plug and play and pretty good performance. Obviously, I'm not going to get PC performance, but still pretty good performance where I'm not going to care enough, right? Don't try to push me and force me to PC. That's not what I want. Like, I matter, damn it. I matter.
No, look, I agree. I agree with all that, but I just sort of feel like from their point of view, which I guess is maybe I feel like I can put a negative spin on anything. But like from my point of view, right, is that like it's a danger to the console. Like, well, shit, we're down on that. But we're not worried because our software's, and then Saatchi is like, well, software's killing it. Why are we making these consoles? Let's just, and then Phil's like, oh, salutations, everybody, choice.
Wow, that's a great Phil impression right there, sir. Amazing. But can I interject some
absolutely, please do.
Some technological realism in
I'll be right back.
Okay. My only pushback to this whole narrative, and I agree by and large, but my only pushback to this whole narrative is, first off, I agree that consoles will continue to be made. They've already made a commitment, right? It's part of their brand. Xbox, it's a box, it's a thing, right? So no one is saying that they won't make one, and I know I believe they'll make at least 2, if not 3 more, in the grand scheme of Xbox making consoles. I say 2 or 3 more, right?
Yeah.
But to play devil's advocate, what is a console? A console,
a lot of R&D,
has always been a means to an end.
Yeah.
That's what a console is. It's always been the necessary evil in order to do what you really want to do, which is sell people your games, right? The only way you could sell people your games for many years was to provide them a console, right? Obviously, PC was there as well, but PC was for spreadsheets, so nobody wanted to do that, right? That's neither here nor there. But for the masses, if you're a Nintendo, which still works to this very day, PlayStation, all these other players, what do? You have to join that business model. Sell you my box, you buy my games, right? And what do I mean by it's a means to an end? It's not something that they make money on, Nintendo being the exception, right? At least not at the outset of it. They take a loss for many years before the pipeline becomes cost effective to them, and now they're getting minute amounts of profit, right? So for the longest time, Xbox, PlayStation, if you buy a console from them and you buy maybe one game and that's it, you've cost them money, or maybe you broke even on them, right? You need to buy multiple games before it becomes cost effective to have you as a customer. That's how consoles have always worked, with the exception of Nintendo, who sells you the technology equivalent of a piece of toast for $200, so they always make at least $40 on the sale. But that's neither here nor there.
This bombing on Nintendo, man. This bombing on that. I see
it's
you.
True, though, but that's neither here nor
piece
there.
of toast. He called it a toaster. Damn.
Technological toast. Okay. Anyway, but in a world where they can cut that out, and I'm not saying I want that, but I'm just thinking with my business hat on. In a world where it no longer needs to be a means to an end, in a world where it is one endpoint among many, right? I can see them going, you know what? I won't see Microsoft cutting that off completely, because I think they do have a commitment to the consumer to say, hey, you've always wanted to game with us on a console, so we're going to give you a console, right? That whole choice and all that, they will always continue that choice. But I do see the idea. I do understand the idea of the money men are in the room now, and they're looking to find cost-effective ways of cost cutting as many places as possible, and downsizing that R&D we're describing is a big factor in the equation, right? So that's why I've actually advocated that I expect that at maybe cycle 3, because right now I still contend that you get another Xbox, proper Xbox, maybe a handheld, probably a handheld, knocking on particle board. You maybe get another console from Microsoft as a console, but then you also get, like, they create a program where they allow third parties to also dive in and create Xboxes, because they have to meet a certain quota, meet a certain hardware parameter, meet a certain quality level, and then you can put an Xbox on it. Just like Harman Kardon used to, make headphones, and they call them Xbox headphones, right? Yeah. Like, license that reference design. That way, Microsoft can kind of take their hands off of all the R&D, and they just present like base spec, right? Kind of like Google. You can choose to have a Pixel, or you could choose to have a Samsung device, but you're still getting Android, right? That kind of idea. I think that may be how they move forward in cost cutting, but that's a tomorrow issue. I really don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. In our lifetime, relatively, we're still getting consoles.
Well, even that I would be okay with, because to me, it's like, for me, it's more than, and I think there's a number in the metrics, which is their services, right? Which is things like people who use their Xbox to maybe buy movies and stuff like that through the Microsoft Store, or through the Movies and TV app and all that stuff, right? So there's those things that I like. For me, it's in my living room, right? It's the hub of what I do on my television. Like, I don't like using the apps that come with the TV. Like, sure, I know I can fire up the different apps off of the LG TV, but I like having myself use the Xbox, upon which I can see if my friends get on, and then all my apps upon which I like my TV app, because I like my live TV, I don't actually have cable, so I have like Hulu Live TV. I have all my apps that I watch movies on, from like HBO to Netflix to Disney Plus. All that stuff is through there. And if one of my buddies hops on, I get the alert. You know what I'm saying? And I'm able to do that quick switch. So it's like their vision that got me really into Xbox was when they started trying to give you games and also own the living room experience. So it's like, I don't want to lose that. That's my only concern is I don't want to lose that. I want to have that ability. Right.
Were you a fan of the Xbox One? Because that was real big. I love the dual HDMI. I love the snap feature.
Yeah, I love the snap feature that they had, where I can be like, I can have the game off to the side, like it was streaming an NFL game, and at the same time I'm playing a video game, and it was snapped to the side. Yeah.
Awesome. I agree. Yeah. It's unfortunate they veered away from that.
They jumped too early on that. I'll always maintain, like, TV was a great idea, but it should have been supplementary to what you do. You know what I mean? And they should have pitched it as supplementary, and it was supplementary to what they did. They just didn't back it up with first party. But look, I've said this many times. They were way ahead of their time, and look at where we are now. Exactly where they had saw where it was.
They often are like early to the market, but they just don't execute it properly, right? So you had the great idea, like even digital, with like going digital for a lot of things first. They were kind of pushing that, where a lot of people were kind of like But now you're starting to see like Xbox has the highest digital adoption rate, but then you're seeing PlayStation like starting to get there as well. So
it was like 80% or something, right?
Remember what they've done, right? They've literally created the voice of an AI in the form of Cortana, and then killed her, and then created her brain afterwards.
I'm still mad about that. Yeah.
Right? Now everything's called Copilot instead of Cortana. Like,
still mad about that. But whatever.
Y'all just are clairvoyant, but somehow in an odd way it always works against you for some reason.
Not having the courage or the conviction to stick it through, right? Just like a Windows Phone. That's classic Microsoft, right? So.
Well, which is always the concern, that when it comes to the console, right? And Kay, I tend to align like with what you're saying. Is I'm pretty sure they will. I mean, they've put the Xbox president on, at the head of sort of hardware technology. So like, if they're not serious about that within gaming, why would you dedicate that president's time when their time could be spent, better elsewhere, right? Especially considering the fact that she, her pedigree, her background is sort of in that services sort of area. So if you were going to, if you didn't think it was her best use of time, you would probably put her on content and services, I think, like personally, whereas they haven't got her on that, they've got her on hardware. So that signals to me that they are serious or making at least one last serious push towards that. However, I think, and I don't know if you mentioned this because my son accosted me on the way through the living room to get my coffee. He wanted to talk about how that's daddy, right? Anyway, so, which I'm glad, because it means, Sean LeBrie did a really good job of that thing, if he can pick out that that's me. But anyway, shout out to Sean LeBrie. But I think what they do now is they're like, okay, look, Satya's like, yep, you do your hardware, but we're not selling this at a loss anymore, right? You need to make profit on this hardware. I think they move to more of a surface sort of a surface sort of
I'll play premium for a console.
Yeah, no, and I agree. This is why I was one of the few people who didn't throw their pad across the room last week about the price of the Pro. Like, I was kidding, like when I did that, but I am absolutely okay with paying like whatever it is for them to make a profit for me to get a console that does what I want it to do. Sits in my living room.
It has to perform for its price, right? You just can't say it's premium and then when the actual tests come out, it's like, oh, it's barely doing what I would have spent if I could have spent another $400 on a PC would have done, right? Like that won't work. But if it's premium, it actually performs in. Yeah, like we're the market for it. If you don't want to keep losing money on hardware and you're kind of not really pushing for hardware, then make premium hardware, and then the diehards will still buy it, and then you're still selling to everybody else who has a PC and the games that you're putting on PlayStation.
And that's where they're going. I'm pretty confident in that. Like, for those who want it, there'll always be a Surface, but chances are you'll end up with an ROG version or something else because they may offer you something interesting that the other guys don't. And that's no R&D dollars that they have to spend, right? Same model they're doing now with their laptops, right? Most of your Microsoft consumed operating systems are coming from your Dell or your HP or some other laptop maker, right? And that's R&D dollars that they don't have to spend. Yes, they have a Surface budget, but the Surface budget is always on the side, and they always kind of make a small amount of those, right? So
yeah, that was always a push to try to garner the consumer, right? Because they've always, for the most part, have been just looked at as enterprise. So it's like if you were just conceding that consumer zeitgeist to Apple, right? So that's where Surface came into play, and it's like there's a fear as to if the Surface line is going to be a thing, 3 to 5 years from now. So I'm hoping that they don't completely abandon like. Because the consumer mindset matters. You don't want your company to just be thought of as like, oh yeah, that's Microsoft. They make Windows and they have a bunch of servers and they're the stuff for your work. Because then you don't get the casuals who will be buying your Xbox.
What you're just describing there is the reason why I think they're not leaving consoles. Because on the Surface, the reason why I see they release Surfaces is because at the time I used to work for Hewlett Packard. I saw what Dell was doing. Like, they were releasing trash machines and everybody was blaming them.
Yeah.
Right. So exactly. You have to stop letting others tell your story and give us a reference design. So after you do that, if they continue selling you crap, then at least you can always point to your own and say, see, this is how it's done. Right. And as soon as they did, you saw that. As soon as they released Surfaces, now the other makers, their laptops are rising in quality. That's the reason why they will always have a console in the market. Right. Yeah. Just to show the rest of y'all how it's done. But at some point, I really do believe they'll open it up. Maybe there's a license agreement. There'll be some technical requirements you'll have to meet, quality bars you have to meet. But then they'll leave it a little open-ended and allow you as the mid-level vendor to like customize it to your own, to make it enticing for the consumer base. And you will see, ROG doing it, and Lenovo, and all the others, right? That will be an interesting world. And then Microsoft, they don't have to spend as much R&D dollars or have to spend so much time on the pipeline that has to send to millions.
So it's like it's baked with the OS and access to our store library and all that stuff.
All that,
the hardwares. Yeah. I mean, interesting.
We'll have an Xbox logo on it.
Yeah.
And then they can partner with, in that R&D space, they then like, they're partnering with Asus, they're partnering with they're partnering with Lenovo, whoever to R&D the stuff. So, Lenovo's doing their R&D, Asus is doing their R&D, but they're partners, so they're sharing that information sort of back and forth. Xbox is doing their own. It saves a lot of money. It makes that.
They're gonna have to drop the parity stuff then, if that's the case, because I think the problem with that is for those companies to get involved, you got to differentiate, right? Like, why should I buy the Asus version of the Xbox versus the Lenovo version of it, right? And it has to be because, this one has more bells and whistles or is more powerful, etc.
Exactly.
Performs better. So if you do that, then you have this issue where you got fragmented, right? Like people who are saying, oh, how come mine isn't doing what this one is doing? It's like, oh yeah, you didn't buy it, right? This one had the better CPU or whatever the case is. So now you got this situation where it's kind of fragmented it a little bit, and I wonder if that's why they may not do it, is because they don't want a situation where people aren't getting a consistent experience across. So
there is a way around that. There is a way around that. Okay, and we're not going to get too deep into the PC waters. But basically, you can set a reference design that you have to meet. These are guidelines. You gotta have better PC music. This is ridiculous. Anyway, and this is technically not PC. This is more tech talk. You set guidelines. How much resources it can use, what's the minimum floor of the resources you can use. And as far as the games that are developed, you don't change the development pipeline. They still develop Xbox games, right? It's just that you make it so that those Xbox games can be played on any hardware within that line, right? So as long as the pipeline offers it, right, all of that hardware will play exactly the same because the virtual hardware in it will just take exactly what it needs and no more. Right. So it doesn't matter if you're in the Series S or a Series X or whatever, it'll just run exactly that way, which means, that new world must have hardware that's far more performant. So it has the ability to run those games at the clip they need to be run. Right. It shouldn't be on developers to be like, well, now I have to profile for 1,800 different devices. No.
Right.
It should just be the same. Exactly. Yeah. Same device.
Because you have a situation this one is crashing this game. Where the Asus one is not crashing the game.
Perfectly.
Yeah,
that's right.
That can be a thing.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Will there be quality differences? Absolutely. Right. There will be quality differences. But as far as from the gameplay perspective, it should be even across the board, as long as Microsoft sets those minimum standards. And I only equate it to an Android device, right? These days, you only have Samsung as the big main competitor. Back in the day, you had 15 different competitors.
Like HTC, Samsung, a whole bunch of companies. Yeah.
They all met a certain standard. Why? Because Android demanded it. Hey, if you want to call yourself an Android device, if you want us to bless you, these are your requirements from a quality and from a performance perspective, right? If Microsoft,
but it also feeds into why I believe that they'll rejig the whole OS in the Xboxes. And we had this, I think, quick conversation in Gamescom. Do they throw out all the R&D that they've had over the years for the Xbox and then go with something new? And I believe, I think they really think they will, just so that they can shift towards that third-party hardware development, as well as shift towards that sort of PC development. So they're not having these issues with, the Steam version or whatever. The Steam version is the PC version. You know what I mean? It is the Xbox version.
One throat to choke.
Yeah, I think it would be a smart move to do that. And there might be some hiccups along the way. It's Microsoft. We can expect hiccups, right? Or rakes to be stepped on. But I think that if they do that, they're going to nail it. The other thing, though, as well, that was a little bit scary, just in the tech, while we're in the tech realm, is that whole issue going on with ARM. Because it looked like they were sort of starting to push a focus towards ARM, I think, for that handheld. And then with what ARM's doing with their partners and their partnerships, it looks a little bit hairy as to whether, Volcom, I think, just correct me if I'm wrong, is heavily involved in the Snapdragon. Snapdragon's their version of ARM, right? So
Yes.
Yeah. So with that Qualcomm thing, Microsoft's heavily wrapped up in their Surface tablets with Qualcomm, and then you would imagine that handheld's heavily wrapped up in and I would imagine it would be ARM, because obviously heat dissipation and power usage, ARM would probably be the go. I'd say that handheld's wrapped up in ARM, and if Qualcomm's having issues, well, they're obviously going to court. ARM's issued a cease and desist order against Qualcomm. That's a bit of an issue, a hiccup that I sort of see down the road for all of this stuff. And I would love to see them go ARM. I think there's movement in ARM technology for performance, and I think there's movement in ARM technology to go into consoles, for price point too. So, yeah, I mean, it very interesting sort of landscape for Microsoft to be moving within.
Real quick about the ARM thing. What I would say is, and this is again a very tech heavy topic. I apologize. At a high level, the reason why ARM specifically is so popular is much like Unreal Engine 5, and I say that to wake up Infinite Umbra. He's probably awake right now. Like everybody uses it.
That did wake me up.
Wake up, Umbra.
Everybody uses it, and because everybody uses it, it's become the reference design. It's faster, it's better because everybody keeps contributing to it. ARM, right? And they're pushing it. More money. With the ARM company, and there's two things. There's ARM the company, and then there's ARM the architecture. With the ARM the company being as shady seemingly as they are right now with Qualcomm, their partner, who they're now kind of dangling licensing in front of like that, it may like kind of put a chill into all these other vendors who become dependent on ARM and on the fact that they are, they can do that to them as well. And that may start spurring some more innovation in open source variants, which RISC-V, RISC-5 or V, is the alternative to ARM. And it's basically the same underlying architecture, same kind of architecture, except this one's open source. So anybody can contribute code to it. No one can lock it down versus ARM that is closed source and you pay a license fee for. Right. If ARM, the company, is starting to be a little more shady, we're going to see more attention being paid there, because there, if you iterate fast, right, you're not paying anybody, right? You can customize it to your own liking. It's an open source thing. The reason why no one has done that before is because ARM made it easy for these companies to kind of go with them. But if they're now playing a little fast and loose, you're going to see a lot of shift. We shall see.
Well, also as well to add to that is ARM sort of made moves to start dealing directly with, not vendors, with manufacturers. So, sort of circumventing Qualcomm and sort of, I don't know if they've got dealings with Microsoft, but they have with other companies. So it may be just that that ARM wants to cut out that middleman of Qualcomm and start dealing directly with companies, Microsoft, because obviously you've got more chip manufacturing up and coming in America and in other places as well. So it might be that they are sort of making that push towards the manufacturer to have that middleman cut out to make a little bit more pennies on the dollar. But I don't know, it'd be very interesting landscape to see what Xbox comes up with in the next, there's the things that you can predict. And talking to J-Ron, or Jason Ronald, talking to him, like he's, as he said, like, we make bets 2 years out, some of them pay off and some of them don't. You know what I mean? Like you're sort of 2 years ahead of the tech. So, and you start developing, when the Xbox One X was out, they were already well into development for the Series X. You know what I mean? They took some of that R&D and put it into the One X. So, I mean, very interesting to see how it sort of turns out. Look, I just think Microsoft is in on consoles, so I don't think we lose that. But the concern is always there, just based on Microsoft's history. And it's not Xbox holding the reins anymore either. So it's more the parent company now really holding the reins instead of just do what you want. Here's your budget. Do what you want with it. I think it's now more here's what you're making. Here's what you got. And here's what you need to make. And I think those targets are tough to hit.
As long as we don't see Phil Harrison get hired by Xbox, I think we'll be fine.
Oh shit!
Phil Harrison shows up. It's a wrap.
Yeah. I'm straight on marketplace that Xbox is getting sold. I'll be going to get PC. I'm like, Harrison's in, we all out. Like, see you later. The man is death. He should. What did you reckon he dresses up for Halloween as like
He's
death?
The Grim Reaper of gaming, man. Come on now.
Yeah. Him and Don Matrix hanging out together.
Oh man, don't hate on Don. Leave Donnie D alone.
Oh. Don, yeah. Me and Don, long storied history. No, I've never met the man. I just had him. Umbra, did you want to add anything to now that you're awake? Did you want to add anything to the
No, I think these gentlemen squared that up way. I was taking care of some things in the background, by the way. So I don't know.
Were you dreaming of PC?
I was I was dreaming. I'm dreaming
Oh God. Don't go
of
there,
a
man.
YPC.
Oh man. Damn.
Just like the one I used to own.
Damn.
What are we doing right now?
Damn.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It better have a fat
No,
PCU. No.
Yeah,
Oh,
oh,
my
hey. You
Oh
know,
my
gotta have that. Gotta have that.
All right. We're just go off the
Gotta
rails.
have
Pause,
Let's
that.
bring it back. Let's bring it back.
You know?
Mhm.
I'm
Well,
trying
look,
to go
we
stay with
definitely
a
gotta respect-
motherboard, you feel me? But listen, I just found out, by the way, that our winner of the contest, Mac, D-Mac,
D-Mac.
it's his birthday today. So,
Oh,
hey,
yo. Happy
shit.
birthday, G-Mac.
Great birthday
happy
present.
birthday.
Happy birthday,
to you,
D-Mac.
brother.
Come on, Mac, do you think? Mac, do you think? There we go. Yeah, happy birthday, D-Mac. Yeah.
No, it says
Uh,
it's Sunday, so it's, I guess, 2 days from now, but close enough. Close enough. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, happy upcoming birthday to you, just in case I don't say it on Twitter. And congratulations, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. How old, D-Mac? Let us know in the chat. Yeah, we definitely got to respect Kay's time, because I know the missus is probably like, this movie's over and where is Kay? So, Kay, that straight up, thanks for coming through, man, at short notice, like literally at a minute's notice. So, you're an absolute legend. Appreciate you having you here. The conversation is always elevated for your presence. So, we appreciate you being on, especially when we get into the tech. And everyone gets lost, especially me. I'm like, what is a PC?
Oh, you know what you're talking about. Calm down. You just need to go get yourself done. That's all.
Yeah, please let everyone know where they can find you, what you're up to. Your show is up and coming, I believe. Oh, I don't know if it's tomorrow for you or tonight. Tomorrow for you, isn't it? Tomorrow morning for you.
I live in the past compared to you. You see, this is the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for having me as usual. I'm usually in the chat being as slanderous as possible. I appreciate y'all having me up. It was a spur of the moment thing, and I enjoyed myself. Wifey gonna beat on me, but that's a different story.
We apologize. We apologize for that.
No, it is what it is.
Bad, Mrs. Sante.
Yeah.
I saw that.
You can catch me tomorrow morning, my time, Eastern Standard Time, and myself and Mr. Everborn Saga on the Gaming Circle podcast. We will be talking gaming, as we are. Lots of games to be discussed. We'll go in deep. Pause on Dragon Age as well, because he's enjoying Dragon Age. I'm enjoying Dragon Age, and before then it was Metaphor, and before then it was Call of Duty, and it seems like we're drowning in crazy games at this point. So a lot more to discuss there. Yeah, appreciate y'all having me up. Always great catching up with the brothers, and you too, Riskit. We'll talk later.
We're gonna go in deep. We're gonna go very deep on Dragon Age.
Very deep.
We're gonna get deep.
Oh my
Sorry.
God. That's just unsettling.
Naturally.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna get a copy of Dragon Age. You guys have convinced me that it's
There
not
you
as
go.
bad as I
EA
have.
Play Pro for a month. It's like,
Yeah.
it can't be as much as the whole thing, and you get the deluxe edition.
Yes.
Can you
Join
get
the
that on Xbox, or
Join
is
the
that just on
Wolf
PC?
Brigade and join us. Yes.
You can choose wherever you want. Like wherever you get is where you get it. It doesn't like carry over like Ubi does, because Ubi you get it on one place and you play it everywhere. EA you get it where you get it and you keep it there. Meaning there's regular play right on Xbox. You can add the pro part and play it on Xbox.
Okay.
And for 1 month, it's like in US parlance, it's like $17 for the pro. But for you, whatever it is, it's probably considerably cheaper than the whole game. You have it for a month. You want, you play for another month, or you.
Would you say it was
discount.
17?
Yeah, it was $17 here.
That's about 200 Australian. Yeah.
There you go.
$200 dues. That's our currency name. I don't know why everyone laughs at that. Insulting. Donte, man, thanks for coming through, giving us your measured thoughts, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate having this particular conversation with all of you guys, because me and Umbra definitely get into it in the background about politics and all sorts of things, and I don't often get to talk to everyone as a group about this sort of stuff. So it gives me perspective on my opinion, so I appreciate everything that you guys bring to the table. So that people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to.
Yeah. So first off, I want to give a special shout out to the chat because you guys are always the best. So thank you for coming and rocking out with us. Happy birthday to D-Mac and congratulations on your win. Thank you so much, my man K. Asante, for coming in last minute, bro. I know that that's probably not what the wife was happy about, but I appreciate her for giving me the for giving the go ahead to join in last minute. That's really top notch for you, fam. Catch me obviously on the socials, so X, Twitter X, whatever I'm calling it Twitter. It's gonna be Twitter for me forever. Twitter, Donte J Moody, also on Threads and also Blue Sky, Donte J Moody, and then obviously catch me here on Fridays. Catch you guys later.
Absolutely. Check out that Boozy Box Office. Have you moved to YouTube yet?
Nah.
Yeah.
No.
We're not talking about that.
Not yet. No, so check it out. Like, I need work to be done in order for me to do that. So I gotta get someone who can actually help me set it all up because I can tell I'm gonna have to be the one who admin it, and I've never done that before. So I'll talk with you behind the scenes on how to.
Yeah.
Get
Absolutely, man.
ground.
Absolutely.
Right.
I love helping out with that stuff. It's always good to know stuff, you know, and be the man, you know. I'm making it about me. It's always, I don't know. That Umbra, people know where they can find you, what you're up to, and how your week's looking.
Yes, you guys can find me on Twitter, Infinite Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. Seems like a lot of us have migrated to Blue Sky. You'll find me under the same name over there. Threads, I believe, the same. Yeah, Blue Sky. So yeah, alternative. Just in case Elon runs this thing all the way to the ground or something somehow. He's fast on his way. Congratulations to D-Mac for the win and for the upcoming birthday. Happy upcoming birthday to you. Shout out, of course, and much love to our brother K. Asante, who joined us, much to the chagrin of his missus. And don't beat him too much, just slightly. You know, not enough to get a charge or anything. You know. And thank you guys in the chat for everybody who came through. I will say I hate when I enter in something I don't win too. So I know how some of you all are probably really hopeful, especially from yesterday until today. Sorry, you guys. If I had all the money, I would buy all of you a copy. I really would. But you know, keep an eye out because we will give away more things in the future. I know for sure I will, even on my own podcast. So as far as where you can find me, also shows Tuesdays Xbox Factor with Boom and myself, Jamie Moran. That's 12 o'clock Eastern. My show with Daniel J. McGee is my co-host. That's Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern. And again, here with us on Friday for the Infinite Podcast at 8 o'clock Eastern. See you guys later. And, of course, shout out to the panel here with me. And all love to my fellas here.
Do you know what surprises me, though, is that you're still on the Xbox Factor podcast? Because, I mean, is he going to, like, hyphenate that as, like, Xbox PC Factor podcast or the PCMR Xbox Factor?
He might have to X me out. He might just have to X me out because my ass is halfway knocked out by the time I get to his show. He might just have to move on past me. I'm just being honest.
Just because you are a coward and didn't stand 10 toes down, Mr. Infinite Podcast, doesn't mean others ain't gonna be 10 toes down.
That's right.
Look, we cover all gaming news here.
Yes, we do.
I was like, we don't really focus on any particular platform.
Mm-hmm.
You never know if a platform's gonna die and go away. We keep hearing it's gonna. So I just just covering my.
Wouldn't it be crazy if
actually
Xbox Factor, Xbox Infinite, and then Xbox just went away like PlayStation Infinite Friday?
Yeah, see, I definitely didn't want to do that. That's never me. Like, you pick a team, you stick to the team. Anyway, it's an absolutely fantastic show. You guys in the chat, you guys have been absolutely amazing. You can head down into the description, find everyone's socials there. I'll make sure I chuck in K's as well. Holly will be back with us next week. I think we've got Garuda the week after that, so that should be cool as well. We got Garuda back. Interesting to find out what he thinks of Dragon Age. I know he won't buy it because he's cheap. It's not on Game Pass. So shout out to Garuda. I know you heard me. And shout out to everyone, just the world. We love you all, and we'll see you all next week.